What's going on, Scott? I'm sitting here going through some deer pics, so I'm letting people join on here. Mark, good to see you on here, bud. Roger, good to see you. Good to talk to you earlier, bud. I guess I talked to Mark, you too, actually, didn't I? We got a Facebook user saying, hello, good sir. Jeff Johnson, good to see you, bud. I hear you, Scott, waiting for that ground temp to warm up. It's coming. Oh, March Madness and getting taxes done. Mark Lewick, good to see you, bud. Got another Facebook user saying, what's up, bud? Sorry. Coming up Facebook user, guys. Colton, good to see you on here. You're welcome, man. Doug Lamb. Sounds good, Jeff. I'll see you Saturday. You can be there anytime you want, man. I haven't looked at my seminar schedule. I think I got 2 seminars each day, I think, all 3 days, I think. But if you're not there then, I mean, I can always shut it down. I think they're later in the afternoon. But you can come anytime you want, bud. All right, we'll give it a few minutes and we'll fire this thing up. You guys need to stick with me here a little bit tonight. I just got off a 2-hour Teams meeting, giving going over our whole catalog with a Wisconsin company, page by page. The last 2 hours, I can't hardly talk. What are you giving away tonight? Huh. You never know, Mark. I might give something away. I haven't thought of a way to do it yet, but I might give something away. Might have an empty tea bottle here in a second. I don't know. Got another Facebook user on there saying, what's up, Robbie? Sorry, I can't. I don't know who you are on there, bud. Mark's saying if you're logging in through Rubline page, it's coming up Facebook user. That very well could be. You go to the Antler King page. Well, who? All right, guys, let's get this thing fired up here. I know tonight's topic is feeding your soil. That's one thing I can talk about. We had our brand new hats in, our brand new leather bill hats in. Finally got them in stock. So, but no, feeding the soil. Man, there's a lot to talk about tonight, especially some news stuff. I've been, I think I touched on it a little bit 2 weeks ago when I started talking about low sulfur in soil. And I've been driving Stacy crazy every night, researching all this stuff. And talked to Don Kiske for a while last night, and he gave me some very good information on it, which was awesome. And we'll touch on that here in a minute. It's going to be, to me, it's going to be a little bit of a game changer. So, but when it comes to feeding your soil, guys, number one, you need to get that pH up. Grab you one of our pH test kits, or however you're doing it, send it to a co-op, whatever. Get that pH up. I don't care what you do to your soil to build it up. If that pH is not at a 7.0 or close to it, you're never going to get full benefit out of the whatever else you do to build that soil, as in fertilizer, the sulfur stuff we're talking about, calcium, anything. You're not going to be able to get full benefit out of it. So the number one thing, I know I sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but number one thing is the pH of that soil. I will not plant a plot unless I get the pH of that soil up. I mean, even if it's our game changer clover and it'd grow in a 5.5 pH, I want it as close to 7.0 as I can because it's going to give me the most tonnage, and I'm not throwing money away putting fertilizer on it. So get that pH up. But probably the number one thing that you need to know after that is, I guess you'd call that the number two thing, would be proper fertilization. Right now, the phones are blowing up on what to plant in the spring. In the spring, you're very limited on what you can plant. Even though this catalog right here is still full of products, there's only a handful of products that you can plant in the spring to get the benefit that you want out of them. You know, you got your trophy clover mix, you got your game changer clover, you have your red zone, you have your chicory, you have your winter buffet. You even got your no sweat. You know, the no sweat, yes, it is an annual. It does have a perennial clover in it. You can plant that no sweat in the spring as long as you realize that you're going to have to replant it in the fall, because what is there, the deer will actually eat up after it matures out. It's not going to grow no more, and it won't be a good food source for later on the bow season, gun season, because it's going to be matured out and gone. So if you plant no sweat, just to cover up them logging roads, backwood plots, stuff like that, make sure that you replant it again or swap it out with game changer or something else. It doesn't hurt to plant no sweat over no sweat. You can plant it right over it. So you can plant it spring and come right back in there, rough the ground up, and plant it again in the fall. But with them perennials there that I was just talking about, and the red zone is an annual. But with them perennial mixes, the game changer clover, trophy clover, winter buffet, them three right there, you know, you're looking at a product for a plants that need potash. Keep the nitrogen away from them. Don't be putting nitrogen on these plots, because especially your first year plot's going to be the ugliest looking clover plot or alfalfa plot you ever seen, because the weeds are going to come up quicker than the clovers and stuff are, just because of the root development. You don't want to feed these weeds and grasses any more than you have to. So just go with a straight potash, you know, 0060 or even a 02020, something like that. If the only thing you can find is something with nitrogen in it, make sure it is the lowest number you can get, you know, but try your best to get that first number of 0. Now you look at your chicory. If you're planting chicory, that loves nitrogen, you know, put the nitrogen to it. The soybeans and the peas in the red zone, straight potash. That's all I'm feeding them. So that's just there for, you know, them legume plants and the other non-legume plants such as the chicory. That's what you're looking at. The chicory is the only one out of them that's going to be needing the nitrogen. And now you get into your fall plots. We'll talk about that later, but these spring plantings, make sure you stay away from a nitrogen-based fertilizer so you're not feeding them weeds and grasses. So that's and truthfully, when it comes to it, if you don't already have an existing plot, I mean, even though I'm using straight potash that does not have nitrogen in it, nitrogen is what's going to evaporate from it. If you put nitrogen fertilizer down, you put it down, let's say your chicory, get it down on there, you don't get any rain, you get it absorbed in, that nitrogen will evaporate away. Where it's best to get in there, especially like on that chicory plot, if you're working the soil, put that fertilizer down first, then work your soil. Get that fertilizer incorporated in with that soil. It'll help the breakdown process, and you won't lose as much away from evaporation. So with the potash, I still do the same thing. I love working my fertilizer in. It just helps in that breakdown process and gets it working quicker. So now that's hard to do. You can't do that on an existing plot. You're putting it right over the top. But with these clovers, stuff like that, and the alfalfas, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, just put it right down over top of it, and you're good to go. But if you're doing a non-existing plot, make sure you work it in the soil if you can. It's the best way to do it, and it will definitely help on that breakdown. So let's talk about a little bit about this sulfur. You know, like I said 2 weeks ago, I just came back from Candyland, where me and Don Kiske did a lot of filming, and he came to me about low sulfur in soil, and it's something I never thought about. So along with talking with him about it, and then after coming back here and studying on it, and then talking to him some more, and then again last night, with these power plants shutting down and with the low sulfur biodiesel, stuff like that, we're losing all the sulfur out of our ground. So we need to get it back in there. The sulfur is a key ingredient to growing plants. So Donna's talked to me about a few different ones that works best. Again, I'm a granular type guy, so I like spreading my fertilizer, stuff like that. But there is a product out there called AMS, which is, it just slipped my mind. Ammonium sulfate. It's a 240024 fertilizer. So you got 24% sulfur going into the ground. This is something that I'm telling you, after reading and studying about this stuff, I wish I'd known about it earlier, because I'd have been adding to it prior to. Now, with sulfur, you really got to watch, especially on the granular side, because the granular, you can actually put too much down. You want to follow the steps of what they recommend you to spread, because if you put too much down, you can actually lower the pH of your soil. So you don't want to go overboard with it. And you need 200 pounds per acre, 300 pounds per acre. Don't put 600 on it, to try to think you're going to make it better, because you can lower that pH. But it's something to really look into. And something else that I knew about some, but not a lot about, was they make a liquid AMS, ammonium sulfate. So with this is something that you can actually mix in your spreader, in your sprayer, and you can actually mix it with a herbicide, and it helps the burn down process with the herbicide. And the reason it works is because that ammonium sulfate has nitrogen in it. When you're going out to kill an area off that has grasses and weeds and all that in it, when you spray it, that nitrogen is what helps get the good burn. It helps get that herbicide into that plant. So that's how you get a complete burn off of it. And you're also adding sulfur to the soil at the same time. So it's a very good thing to look into. Google has all kinds of stuff about it, but it's called AMS, AMS. And it's just something that I'm going to be doing a lot of playing around with this year. I'm going to document quite a bit of it, video document quite a bit of it. And I'm going to do some testing on some strips with it and without it. And just to see the big the progress of where I've actually put the granular, where I put the spray. And I'm going to do the same thing with killing some plots off too. Use some with it, some without it, and to see what kind of burn I get on both of them. But it's something that with this low sulfur in the ground, it's being depleted out because all this. Then plants need that for a healthier plant, more tonnage, sweeter plants, higher calcium. It's something that is something I've never talked about, never dealt with, never thought about. But again, Don brought it up and really spiked my interest on it. Now I'm driving Stacy nuts because I can't get off the laptop sitting at night while we're trying to watch a movie, and I'm talking to myself while I'm reading. So she knew she was getting a winner when she got me, but she really understands it now. But with that, what I've got here, I actually got a few pictures here I can throw on here for you, bud. Let's see here. When it comes to, and another one that's the easiest one to use, if you want to use it the easiest way without going through ammonium sulfate. Oh, get on there. Oh, just gypsum. Works out perfect. You can spread it right out on there. Everything I'm reading on it, you're looking about 400 pounds per acre, and very inexpensive. So I looked today. Most of it I can find is anywhere from $4 to $6 a 40-pound bag, but about 400 pounds per acre. And this will do the exact same thing, work very well. But now when it comes to the spray with the burn off, This is a product that you can actually get at Rural King. Rural King carries it, Tractor Supply carries it, Runnings carry it. A whole bunch of different stores carry this. And this is the AMS ammonium sulfate. So this is what you can use to actually help burn down them food plots when you're spraying with herbicides, and helping the soil with the sulfur as well. Then you have your ammonium sulfate. This is just a bag I threw up there. Another one here. This is a 2100, but 240024 is the one that I'm going to use. That's what Don told me to use. He said it's the best. That's what he uses on all his, even his ag side of his farming, and it works the best. But there's so many different ones out there. The ammonium sulfate is a little more expensive. Don't get me wrong, a lot more expensive than the gypsum, but it's I'm going to try both just to see what I got there. But again, this one here is exactly what I'll be using for herbicides and spraying. Now, you do not have to use it as a herbicide. You can just spray it alone, but it is designed to go with 2,4-D, which I don't like using, or glyphosate, which is Roundup. I have checked. It is capable to use with clethodim and 2,4-DB. You can use it with both. And you're looking about 3.5 ounces per gallon of water. You're looking at about, actually, you could pretty much just go, say, 32 ounces per acre is what you can really go at, because you're running about 10 to 11 gallons per acre spraying. Now, if you're not calibrated, your sprayer's not calibrated right, you're probably using a lot more water than that. Just make sure you spray the whole thing out, or calibrate your sprayer. But a calibrated sprayer should be running no more than 11 gallons per acre. Let me get right back here. Now, Plot Max. Everybody knows Plot Max. Plot Max is a great soil conditioner. It's another soil builder. You know, you're breaking down that soil, helping hold moisture, letting them nutrients adhere to that plant better. So another great product right there that's been around for many years. 132-ounce bottle will treat half an acre with 8 gallons of water. So again, if you're calibrated right, you don't have to use that whole 8 gallons of water. Just mix it real good and run it with the 5 or 6, 5.5, whatever you're using. But very good product for breaking down that soil. It will spike the pH, but it is very, very short-lived. It is not a pH enhancer. It is a soil conditioner. And then again, for them legume plants, you can't go wrong with clover fuel. Clover fuel, now this is not what you want to use and do away with your granular. You always want to put your granular on in the springtime of the year, existing plots, non-existing plots, and then substitute it with the clover fuel. Always use your granular. I try to let everybody know that this is not a get away from granular type deal. This is something that will give that clover a big jump start and pound the forage on later in the year if you want a little bit more of a kick start to it, but you still want to use that granular potash. And jumping ahead, you already know the Jolt. The Jolt is just like the clover fuel, except for it's the annuals. It's the nitrogen based. The clover fuel is going to do 1 acre per 32-ounce bottle, where you're looking at 2 acres per 32-ounce bottle of the Jolt. All right, let's get back up here. There we go. But again, guys, proper fertilization, getting that pH where it's supposed to be. Lime's cheap. Get that up. I know I talk about lime and pH all the time, but guys, that is the most important thing. A lot of people think it's all cheek and tongue, but that is the most important thing that you could ever do to a food plot. I will not plant unless I test my soil to see what it is and build it up. I did it for many years, thought I was having good success until I started checking the pH, building that pH up close to 7.0 or right on a 7.0, and the amount of the tonnage of forage I was getting was unbelievable. And it's easy to see because if your pH is too low, you're throwing money away putting fertilizer down because the plants aren't going to be able to utilize it. So when you get it up to that 7.0 and the plants can utilize 100% of that fertilizer, that's where your tonnage is coming in at. You look at a virgin piece of soil here in Illinois where I'm at, you're looking at about a 5.5 pH. With that 5.5 pH, you're losing 32%, almost 33% of your fertilizer. You're just throwing it down the drain. The plant cannot utilize it. So why throw that money away, especially if you're talking acreages, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars that you're spending that your plants cannot intake in and add you more tonnage. All right, let's see what everybody's got talking about here. I've been seeing a bunch of stuff go across here, and I'm just sitting here gabbing away like always. Oh, let's see here. Jeff Good. Yep, logged into the Antler King page. Paul, we got the hats, but man, the decals, that's just something we don't have anymore. I don't know if we'll ever get more decals in. I've actually been printing off my own to take to the shows now, having a print shop print them off for me myself, just because the supply and demand is so crazy right now. We used to buy them by the case, the small 6-inch decals, and we buy like 5,000 to a case, and they weren't that bad, and I'd give them away at the shows. Now the price since COVID, it's ridiculous, and I'd hate to try to sell one to somebody for what they go for. I don't know how a lot of these companies make any money off decals because it's outrageous. Old Scuba, where's JJ at? Robert, does a pH need to be checked every year if it was a 7+ last year? It's going to depend on what you plant. If you're planting legumes like clovers and alfalfa, stuff like that, they're not going to suck that soil dry like your brassicas will. So if you're planting radishes, turnips, collard greens, trophy rape, stuff like that, that's what will destroy the soil. You'll still lose some with the legumes, but not as much per year. So if you're running clover plots, I'll usually drop a point or two, maybe 3 during a year. My annual plots, I can drop a bunch. I mean, they will just suck it dry within 2 years. End of 2 years, the middle of 3, they'll suck it completely dry. So just depend on what you're planting there, bud. Doug, I appreciate it, man. New live viewer, but we watched about all we can watch on the Antler King stuff. Well, I'm glad to see you on here, buddy. Anything I can do for you, you just let me know. Doug's also asking, do we apply 0060 to an existing clover plot? I reapply the fertilizer every single spring, and of the potash for my clovers. So yes, I'm always replenishing them with the granular 0060 every spring on all my existing plots. You just get so much more tonnage, healthier plants, sweeter plants. Jeff Johnson, how early would you plant barricade? It needs nitrogen, correct? Yes, barricade loves nitrogen. Loves it. You can pour it to it and it just keeps shooting up. Barricade, you never want to plant barricade until that ground temp hits 60 degrees. So like here in the Midwest where I'm at, as soon as you start seeing the farmers start planting beans, that's when I'm usually, or growing beans, that's when I'm usually getting ready to hit my barricade. But that ground temp needs to be 60 degrees. Right. That's one good reason to let the wife have chickens. That's exactly right. Jeff, you're asking, is it compatible with Plot Max? I don't elaborate on that a little bit, bud. I don't know. I don't know which product you're talking about. Doug's talking. I've been using the AMs for a year. For a year now, makes a big difference on burn down. Absolutely. There's no reason why it couldn't help. I mean, it's adding nitrogen to a herbicide. That's just going to open that plant up and let it absorb it in so much better. You know, I've done the same thing on my annual plots for years with our Jolt fertilizer. I've always mixed Jolt in because of that, with that nitrogen in there. But with the AMs having a higher dosage of nitrogen, it'll really help that burn down. Is AMs compatible with Plot Max? I can tell you, you can spray them together, but I am actually working. I'm working with someone right now to find out if they can be mixed. I'm not for sure if they can be mixed yet with that humic acid, but we're working on that. Brian, yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt. It's actually killing off the cannery grasses with glyphosate. If you can't get it with glyphosate, hit it with Liberty. But yes, mixing that with the AMs is definitely going to help you. Depends on how many times that's been sprayed with glyphosate, if it's immune to it or not. If so, and you're not getting a real good burn down even with the AMs in it, switch it over to Liberty, and I promise you it'll burn it off. That's all I use anymore. Tim Lambert, I know I'm a hard man to catch at home. If you want to catch me, you better catch me the next day and a half, because Thursday morning I'm heading to Wisconsin. So if you're wanting some seed, you better get a hold of me, Bubba. Roger Neal, I was out at the farm working on my second and third micro plot today, hoping to plant them on Sunday, then utilize a couple buddies to work for bigger plot. Good deal, Roger. Man, this weather has everybody pumped up to get planting. But I'm gonna tell you, like I've been telling everybody. I know it's getting closer to the end of March, but it's still only March. So watch planting a lot of things that could actually germinate, and all of a sudden we get a freeze off. So we were just down below freezing last night and this morning, and I think we're supposed to get down again tonight. So watch getting them things planted. If they just lay in the ground, they'll be fine. But if they germinate and sprout up a little bit, and we get another freeze off, you're going to be replanting. So don't get ahead of yourself if you don't have to, bud. Mark says, having a higher pH soil make your food plots taste better to deer. The pH, and meaning higher, up to that 7.0, that's when they can draw in 100% of the nutrients. So with the 100% of that nutrients, the plant will get sweeter, which will be better for the deer, as in I guess you want to say tasting better. But you have plants that's going to get sweeter. You look at your brassica plants that are starchy. They need that good frost on them to turn them sweet. If your pH is too low, the starch will never turn to sugar. So you got to get that pH up there. The higher that pH is, the sweeter them plants are going to turn and make them more desirable for deer. If you look at a brassica, and the tattletale sign on a brassica, if you have a very good high pH, is when you see that frost turn that plant purple. When it comes to bright green and it turns to purple, that's when they devour it. If you got a light purplish tint, your pH ain't that good. If you got no green or purple tint, your pH is garbage. So the darker purple, the more purple on that plant is the higher that pH that soil is. Yeah, Jeff, I think I just touched on that. I am not for sure if the AMs can be sprayed in the same sprayer at the same time as our Plot Max, but I will have that answer. I actually made the phone call and talked to the gentleman today that's doing the research on it. Man, Corey, don't tell me snow's coming this weekend to Wisconsin. I hope you're in the northern part. Every year I go to the Wisconsin Classic, and it's coming up this weekend. Every year I get snowed on. That's why I moved away from Wisconsin. I was tired of the snow. It seems like it's going to be, even there at the Dells, it's supposed to be pretty cool this weekend. All right, we got some more questions out there, guys. I'll just start rambling here again in a minute. Just going back and just making sure we don't have anything wrong here. Well, it looks like I got all of you guys so far. Doug Lamb, the big secret you were talking about. What are you talking about a secret, bud? I don't know what you're talking about a secret. I don't know what that'd be. Man, I might get snow at the Dells. I appreciate it, Corey. Rob's on here. Planting no sweat in the timber. Thinking soil would have a lot of nutrients from the least composting over the years over the ground. Question: should I do it? Man, I would definitely do a soil test because number one, them leaves are going to give you organic matter. Not so much as in nutrients. It's just going to give you organic matter, which is a good thing, a great thing. But as in raising your pH or anything like that, not so much. And again, with the pH of your soil, all soils have nutrients embedded in them. That's why you can go do a soil test. And just say for clover, you put on, I'm planting Ladino clover. Here's my soil test. It comes back. Nitrogen in the soil is good. Potash needs this. So, I mean, there's always nutrients in there. But even though there's nutrients in that soil, if that pH ain't up, it's not going to allow that plant to intake in the nutrients that's even in the soil. So not even putting anything on yourself, the nutrients that's already there that the plant could absorb in by the pH being up, it will not allow them to do it, or as much as they should be able to do it. So it's always a good thing to test that and get that pH up if you can. Brian, what would be the benefit of doing a controlled burn? I'm thinking of burning a section off my woods. I love burning. I love it. You're getting that, and if I don't know if you're just talking about burn off a section in your woods or a plot in your woods, but burn off section, it just allows all that new fresh growth to come in. It gets rid of all that junk, scraggly stuff, especially if you got briars, stuff like that. It allows that new fresh growth, puts a lot of potash into your soil, and just makes for a lot better vegetation. So that's why I like doing it, and it cleans up the timber too. Yes, Mark. Kitchen sink is still coming in April. Yep. The new feed product. Man, all you guys are talking about all this snow in Wisconsin and tell me I'm going to have snow on Friday and Sunday. Man, as long as I get there Thursday morning, I'm fine. I don't care if it snows. I'll stay later if I have to. I'll come home a different day. But no, yeah, get that pH up. It's going to definitely help you there, buddy. And again, Brian, for the burning, you can't go wrong with burning a timber in a controlled burn aspect, as in helping. It just makes your timber a lot healthier. It gives the animals more higher nutrients to feed on, all the fresh growth coming in. You'd be amazed seeing how much fresh growth that would actually come as a natural browse to a deer, that the deer will just hammer it. I mean, I love our county park over here. They've been burning, and you can go through there at night. You can see, it's so flat here. You can watch your dog run away for 2 days. So, when you go look through that timber over there on that flat ground, you can see for a mile across through there, all through them trees with all the everything burnt. So with that, you can just pick the deer out, and they're just nibbling on that little green growth coming up, and it just more comes up. It's just so much healthier for them. Let's see who I'm missing here. Talking about our red zone. The red zone is our soybean pea blend. It does have some sunflowers in it. One thing I would highly recommend on our red zone plot mix is I wouldn't plant it unless I could plant at least 2 acres of it. Because you see what deer will do in a bean field. As soon as the beans start sprouting, they get about that tall, the deer will just devour them. And that's what these deer will do on this here. So if you're going out trying to plant a 1/4 acre or something of peas and soybeans, them deer, or 90% of the time, you won't even tell it's even growing, because through the night they're just picking it off as it's sprouting up. So it's best if you can plant at least 2 to 3 acres of it. What's new coming out spring or fall? Buddy, the only thing that we got coming out as of right now, there may be some things in the making. I'm not saying there's not. But what you're looking at right now is this one right here. The kitchen sink, if you haven't already heard about it, it's everything but the kitchen sink. Perfect name for it because it's got 11 different grains in it. It's going to be a perfect year-round supplemental feeding source for deer. So the protein's low enough that you can't burn fat off the deer in the winter, and it's high enough to help them with growth, healthiness, and bone structure development. So it's just a perfect year-round food source. It will be out in April. Let's get back to the chats here. See what else I'm missing here. Brian's asking, how long before planting something after killing chicken? You're looking at minimum 7 days. You want to wait minimum 7 days. Now, if it's very thick and you're leaving it stand, you're going to have to wait longer to get a complete total kill off on it where you can get good seed to soil contact. But if you're just going to kill it off and then come back in 7 days, work the ground and plant, you can do it in 7 days. Let's make sure I didn't answer somebody or miss somebody here. I get talking and I never know what I'm doing here. Mark, everything's doing great, man. Doing real good. What is the best perennial mix for the spring? If you got a good sunny area, a very good pH in the soil, you cannot plant anything better than trophy clover for a spring planting. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people tell you not to plant clover in the spring, plant it in the fall. I plant clover in the spring because I want the most tonnage I can get the first fall during that hunting season. Yes, I am going to have to fight with some weed issues, fight with some grass issues, but myself, I love being in the woods. I love spraying plots. I love mowing plots. So I'll take that. So I'll have a lot more tonnage that first fall. Now, if you're planting in the fall, yes, your weeds and grasses are starting to slowly diminish. You're not going to have a lot of issues with them. And then that second year it comes in real thick and healthy, just like it would if a spring planting. You just won't have as much weed and grass issue to mess with the first year. But again, I enjoy it and and the difference between planting in spring and fall, you're probably looking with the trophy clover, you're looking about 10 tons per acre of forage. Now that is on a healthy trophy clover plot. So you're looking into your second and third year. That first year, you're probably getting into that 4,000 to 5,000. But between a fall plot and a spring plot, the spring plot's going to offer you double the tonnage than a fall plot would that first fall. So that's why I like doing mine in the spring. And trophy clover is always my go-to. Now, in a A shaded type area, I'm always looking into the game changer clover. The game changer clover will grow in a lot more shaded area. It's more pH tolerant, but again, if you want all the tonnage you can get, check that pH, add that lime. Even though it's in a shaded area, you're going to get a lot more tonnage by pouring that fertilizer to it with the pH up where it needs to be. Brian, yes, the trophy clover, your clovers and your chicory are the two plants that's going to do well in a more moist, wet area. Now, not standing water, but a moist area, they will thrive in it. Now, your annual stuff like that, no, they will literally just be what I call a one and done. As soon as that water comes up over it or too high a moisture, they will drown out. Mark Coleman, what are the 2 or 3 of the biggest mistakes most people make when planting a food plot in the spring or fall? Number 1, not checking their pH. Number 2, overseeding the plot with too much seed, which is the worst thing you can ever do. You never want to seed a food plot heavier than the recommended rate. And number 3, getting the seed too deep. So I would say that's the top 3 right there. You never want to plant a seed any deeper than three times the diameter of the seed. So you look at 90% of the seeds in the deer industry, you're looking at pencil lead to pencil lead times 2, maybe. Real fine seeds. It's better to lay them right on top, let Mother Nature rain on it, and let them push them down the ground, let her set them herself. The days of dragging box springs, dragging a harrow section, all that's something that I used to do and had the worst luck with, and now I understand why, because you're putting way too much dirt on these little seeds and you're losing germination. You think it's the seed, and it's not the seed. The seed will not germinate when it's too far down the soil. So, or it will, but it's just going to die. But so you want to do make sure that pH is up. Only use a recommended rate of seed or less. Never overseed too heavy, and not cover the seed too deep. Let me see what we got here, guys. We got a bunch of them rolling through here. Doug Lamb, should plant red zone, or can you sow and call the pack? Oh, you can sow and call the pack. That's the only way I've ever planted any of my red zone. You can broadcast them seeds and call the packet. Now, what I would highly recommend when call the packet, make sure that you call the pack first and pack that seed bed. You always want to plant on a firm seed bed and then broadcast and call the pack again with them peas. So don't work the soil and then throw them on there and then go run over 4 inches of deep soil. You want to make sure you call the packet good and firm, broadcast your seed, and then come back over and call the packet again. Jeff Johnson, I'm going to try just seeding over my old fall, winter, spring, and call the pack the new clover plots this spring. You know, but as long as you can get good seed to soil contact, that's actually a pretty good way to do it. So as long as you're not too weedy and nasty underneath of it, it'll work out very well. It's just like crimping pretty much. I love that fall, winter, spring. There ain't nothing better than that cereal rye. All right, I think I missed one up here, guys. Let me go back up to it. And I did answer that one earlier. I answered it without him even asking the question. The no sweat, you can plant spring or fall, but if you plant it in the spring, you definitely want to replant it in the fall because the deer will completely wipe it out. And after it's matured out and they eat it down, it's done. It's not going to continue growing. When it comes to barricade, you want to, like I said, you don't want to plant it any earlier than 60-degree ground temp. You can plant it later in the year, but if you're able to do it, never knowing what Mother Nature is going to throw your way, like she has been cruel to us in the last few years here in the Midwest, plant it as soon as you can, as soon as that ground temp hits 60 degrees or so you have plenty of time, because these plants, for the first couple months of their life, they're a very slow growing plant until they get about that third petal on them. When they get that third leaf on them, then every time you go back, you're like, holy cow, look how tall this is getting. But it takes a while to get to that point. So I always highly recommend getting it planted as soon as that ground temp will allow you to plant it, and that's going to allow you to get some of them good spring rains in, get it going, and go from there. Want to be outdoors. Good to see you on here, guys. Brian Murray, wish I had time to frost seed clover this year. Brian, I don't know if you watched me on here very much at all, but I've pretty much completely done away with frost seeding. Frost seeding is one of the easiest ways to overseed a food plot with too much seed. So what I like to do, I like to wait till, actually it's going on right now just because how warm it's been. The clovers are coming back to life. The ground temp's getting up there. I like overseeding into a clover plot instead of frost seeding. I like waiting to see what's coming up, how thick it's going to be, because a clover plot is night and day difference from October, November of last year to the next spring. That plot will be a lot thicker, healthier, and jump up a lot more. Yeah, you can still have bare spots, thin spots here and there, or just getting new growth in as the old growth's coming out. But I like seeing what I got there before I seed into it, because you can really hurt a clover plot by frost seeding it with too much seed. Doug Lamb, yes, barricade needs a lot of sun. Barricade needs a minimum of 5 to 6 hours of sun a day. So planting back in the woods, you're going to be very limited on growth. It needs a good 5 to 6 hours of sunlight. Mark, when do you put out pelletized lime or pelletized fertilizer? January, February, and why? Mark, you mean fertilizer or lime? But the fertilizer, I'm putting mine on usually really close to when most people should be frost seeding if they're frost seeding. I like that freezing at night, thawing during the day. But I have all the way up till, the weather allow me to. I'm not going to get in and tear my plots up. On an existing plot, I mean, you got up to the 1st of June if you want. You can put fertilizer on anytime you want. But if I can find them freezing at night, thawing during the days, where it's going to suck that fertilizer in, that's what I want. It'll do the same thing to that fertilizer as it will do to seeds when overseeding. So that's when I like getting mine on. And month-wise, January, February, and March, month-wise, you just never know, depending on the weather. Usually, I'm never putting any fertilizer on until March anyway here. Now, we've had a lot warmer weather than we normally have, but I've still waited. It's on now, but I usually go into March. Strictly going after Antler King this year. Started to last season. Use Antler King to harvest last 3 deer. Got me sold 100%. Want to be outdoors? I appreciate that. Anything you need, just let me know. Give me a holler if you have any questions about any products, anything like that. If you call into Antler King, you will get me. I'm the only one that answers questions. If you email in, you will get me. So just if you have anything, just let me know, bud. Well, we're getting short on time here. Let's see what I'm missing here. Got any more questions? Throw them my way. They're going to kick us off here in about 10 minutes. I don't want to miss anybody here. I apologize for taking the time to look at these, but I just don't want to miss anybody. I just seen Jeff Johnson's comment there. Yes, if I didn't state it earlier, the barricade loves nitrogen, buddy. Pour the nitrogen to it. As long as you're getting moisture, don't burn it up. Don't fry it with too much nitrogen. All right, that's better. You're welcome, Randy. Antler King app's coming. Mark, I don't see that coming anytime soon, bud. There is a lot more to that than what you think. Holy cow, is there a lot to that. Inexpensive? My Lord. Very expensive. North Central Arkansas with a lot of rocks. What do you suggest? I follow the Facebook as well. Springtime planting, game changer clover. Fall of the year, you can do the no sweat, but I'll tell you what, the fall, winter, spring will do very well. Tubular radishes love that rocky soil. They love rocky soil, even sandier soil. So the fall, winter, spring would be a good fall planting, or the slam dunk would be a good fall planting. Brian, I appreciate it, bud. I love doing what I'm doing. I love teaching anything I can teach. I know what it's like to be planting food plots as a young man as I was and not have anybody to help me, and I didn't know nothing. So I learned a lot from my mistakes, bud. So that's why I like helping when I can. Ricky, talking about a lot of rocks there in Missouri. Yes, there is, bud. Yep. But the same thing goes for you, man. That I don't know why, but tubular radishes really like a rockier soil. We've even had. I mean, I'll never forget going over to. I can't remember if it was. I was going over to David Holder's office for raised hunting. I don't know why I stopped by there. I think we went by there to do some. I don't know. I remember going by there. But he had a tubular radish out of our red zone, about that tall, growing right out his front door of his office, and the rocks where the seeds fell out back of the truck, and he just caged up letting it grow there just to show people what that big old tubular radish just kept coming out of that CA6 there in the driveway. Just amazing. Scott, I'm in Missouri, and I had the soil moisture just right where I could broadcast and drive over. That's a perfect way to do it, bud. Yeah, if you don't have a cultipacker, Doug, tell Austin I said hi, bud. If you don't have a cultipacker, use the wheels of your ATV, your tire tractor, your garden tractor, anything like that. Just track it in, pack that soil down, and then run over it again after you broadcast your seed. A yard roller works good. You can't beat a cultipacker. You guys know me and my Packer Max. That's my favorite tool in the world. I've tried my best to wear one out, and I can't wear it out. So you just can't beat a good cultipacker. Well, it looks like I've got all your questions here. Anybody else got something else? I don't want to get off here without answering something for you. A little bit here, and we can get ready for a couple of weeks to go into getting this stuff planted and everything else going on. It's going to be here before we know it. And I'll tell you what, too, just to let you guys know, I've had a lot of phone calls from people saying, man, I've been to so-and-so store, and some of the big name stores and not find any of your product. I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm not. Our sales are through the roof this spring, better than they ever have been, better than last year, which is our record year. And I think a lot that has to do with it is the warmer temps that we have. People are getting gung-ho and getting out buying stuff as soon as it's hitting the shelf. Because with checking with our corporate, these companies that are out of stuff on their shelves are ordering more than they ever have. So just be patient. Stuff's coming in all the time. It's just, some stores need to carry a little bit more of each thing, but I have no control of that. We don't have any control of that. We're just very blessed that they carry what they do. But just always remember, too, we're always free shipping online. So if you need something, get online. It's always free shipping. But it is, I really just think it has a lot to do with this warm weather. Just has everybody, including myself, they got the itch to get out there and turn some soil and just get planting. And my trade shows are showing the same thing. The sales have been through the roof this year. I've had the best show season I've had in 20 years this year at every single show I've done. I can't wait to see what Wisconsin brings. Old Jeff Johnson, you're a dealer for us, buddy. People in your area looking for product, let them know you're there, man. Yep, there's a lot of small local dealers in the area. If you got anybody's looking for product and you don't know what stores carry it, just get on our website and you will go to dealer locate, type in your zip code. It's going to tell you all the stores in your area or however many mile radius that you put in there. Just like Jeff Johnson here with his dealership there in Wisconsin. He's on there. So you can go right on there and find what I call the small mom and pop shops. And it'll work out perfect. Yeah, Jeff's going to be bringing some cards with him Sunday. So he'll be at the show with me actually Sunday at the Dells. So any you guys want in the area there that's close, Jeff can definitely fix you up. Jim, if you have an existing annual plot, but I plan on planting a clover plot, how early do you recommend planting? Well, that clover is not going to germinate till that ground temp hits between 50 and 55 degrees. So if Mother Nature allow you to get in there and work the soil and get it planted and just lay there dormant, you could do that. But I don't recommend it just because you never know what Mother Nature is going to throw towards us as some more cold spells. And we definitely don't want it sprouting up an inch or so and dying off. So I always plant my clovers as soon as the weather allow me to do it and the ground temp is close to that 50, 55 degrees. And then I will stop June 1st. So I'll never plant after June 1st, between June 1st and September. So I always go, Mother Nature allow me to do it until June 1st. And if I can't get it planted then, I'll hit it about September 1st and until about October 1st. So that's just how I am here in the Midwest. Now, it's just I don't like planting stuff that can actually get frost. So I'd rather wait until the ground temp warms up where I know the stuff's going to germinate. The frost is, we don't have to worry about a frost. The temperature is going to stay warm enough, and then you'll be good to go. Brian, I wish we had a good trade show in Michigan. This state is going downhill with outdoor shows. I have to go to the Illinois Deer and Beer Fest every year now. Yep. I'll actually be at the Illinois Deer and Beer Fest this year. I didn't get to make it last year. I was there the year before, but I'm actually free that this year. So I will be at that show in August. Or is it July this year? Whatever it is. I will be there. Cole's already got me a spot set up. So I will be there selling product. Mark, I appreciate it, bud. Well, everybody, they're going to kick me off here. I got 1 minute. So I appreciate you guys coming on here tonight. In 2 weeks, we'll fire this thing right back up and get after it again. So you guys have a good night. Thanks for everything. You need anything, just feel free to reach out and give me a call.